Hello, this video is going to focus on tackling a close reading question in response to a task on Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol. Now what I've got here is a question, model question. I've got some of my daughter's fancy done storybook writing paper here, so I can do a nice plan here on the plain bit, and then on the line bit I can actually write the honest to goodness paragraph that springs from my ideas here. So let's get busy. Explore how Dickens presents the atmosphere of the area in this extract. Give examples from the extract to support your ideas. Now I'm not going to waste time showing you the extract. Take it from me. It's from Stave 4 or Chapter 4, and it's just before the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come shows Scrooge, the servants, going to an old pawn shop owner called Joe and trying to flog off his curtains and his clothes. So I'm going to take a quote here and then we'll branch out and see how we can turn that into a star or level 9 gold. First of all, let's tonk in the quotation we're locking on, and it's a quotation from the extract because of course we're looking at the atmosphere here. Oh, do you know what, Mr. Telly, get ahead of yourself. I was about highlighting key words here so people get a clear idea of how you're going to tackle this question. Well, first of all, for me, a big hitter is that word how, because that relates to language and structure techniques. How does Dickens do this presentation? Well, he does it through how he uses metaphors, similes, short sentences, punctuation, yada yada yada. The key bit, of course, is this atmosphere of the area. There's a nasty pocket of London that he describes. It's so rough even the axe murderers go around in pairs, and we're going to lock in on that extract. What else do we need to highlight? Make sure when you're responding to this question you are locking in on the extract that's given to you. You'll get the odd brain of Britain who'll start to prove what a black belt they are, analysing language and structure by looking at any other metaphors or similes they recall from the book. Don't do that. That's not what this question demands of you. So let's get in that quotation. This is going to be a metaphor. That's how the atmosphere of the area is presented, and that metaphor is thus: the whole quarter there we go. So there's our quotation, and as I say, it's a metaphor. Do cite in your paragraph the language or structural technique that's employed. The examiner likes that, you get credit for doing it. Okay, now then, because I'm going to be a real clever Trevor here, and I'm assuming that we're aiming for the highest marks, I'm going to also see if I can't winkle out a secondary technique here. We've got the quarter reeked of crime and filth, that's our metaphor, but I've noticed as well you've got k and th. These are like harsh sounds, so that's our like A-list or A-game interpretation. I'm going to do a secondary interpretation of this harsh sounds, which you might call plosives, but I dare say call them harsh sounds. Gets the examiner giddy as a goat too. Okay, so you can see I'm planning this for the highest marks. 2 interpretations. I believe the exam criteria that the examiner judges you on talks about how well you look at the interrelationship between language and structure. Well, there's certainly here an interrelationship between language. There's 2 language techniques working together to produce a certain effect. Okay, let's think about now what that effect is. How is that presenting the atmosphere of the area? Right, so let's loop them. First of all, I think we can say it's not a great PR job for London, is it? It's emphasising, let's do it in a nice different colour, just how unpleasant the area is. The atmosphere is very much unpleasant here, and these harsh sounds, they're reinforcing or reaffirming or compounding that sense of an unpleasant atmosphere or aura. Obviously I won't write atmos in the exam, it's finding me plum. Do you know what? That'll do for Johnny T. I think we're ready to start turning this into exam paragraph gold. Here we are. Right, let's take my black pen. Let's get busy. In the extract, we want to make sure the examiner knows we're responding to the question that's set. And of course, extract links to that line there. We're keeping ourselves task focused, and we're only 3 lines in. We're doing well, Mr. Taylor. Right, in the extract, Dickens, another keyword. Presents, a bit tired of presents. What I'll do is zhuzh it up now. I'll just say the technique uses metaphor to present, no, depict, which is a synonym for present. One of the keywords of the question. To present, to depict an unpleasant atmosphere. And you might see later on I cross out some of this line just to make my work appear more classy. So we're doing alright thus far. Let's crack on. We've got a point. Adding our evidence now. In his description of the area, notice how I'm stitching in those words from the question, very much unequivocal and responding to the task that's set. In his description of the area, comma, he states that, and now we're tonking our quotation. You'll notice it's not a massive one. If you do put a massive one in, the examiner just thinks, do you know what, this div kid knows nothing, they're just tossing a big quote to fill up some space and pass some time in the exam. So we'll keep our quotes accurate, appropriate and relevant. He states the whole quarter. A quarter obviously refers to an area. Reeked, that's our money shot verb, we're going to look at that in a sec, of crime, filth and misery, like a few schools I've worked in. Not my latest one, thank goodness. Okay, so we got a convoy, we got a point, we got evidence. Next point, of course, is the explanation. I'm going to lock in on reeked because, of course, that's like the key to this metaphor here. The verb. The examiner, I tell you what, he loves it when you just say the verb or the noun and the adjective rather than just the word. If you're not sure, just say word, but verb sounds a bit jazzier, I think. The verb reeked. I'll put an evaluative adverb in here. Compellingly. Makes me sound like I'm casting judgment on the text. Can't hurt. It makes me sound like a bit of a genius. Compellingly conveys to the reader. And God help you with this po-faced, joyless examiner if you don't tonk the word reader in. You've got to talk about the effect on the reader, haven't you? That's what we're doing here. To the reader, how unpleasant the area appears. I'm not going to put a full stop there, but you can see thus far that's not too shabby. Point, evidence, explanation. But we're going to go a little bit deeper just to kind of explain and develop these ideas in my explanation. And my favourite word for doing this is because. God, I love that word. Nice springboard for an explanation. How unpleasant the area appears because reeked has connotations. Yes, it does. It means associations or what it's linked with. It has connotations of vile smells. If somebody says you reek, you'd want to buy a bar of soap PDQ. It's not a compliment. Okay, so that's pretty deep, isn't it? But do you remember from our plan, we talked about going deeper and pulling out a secondary technique as well. You know, interrelationships being the breeding ground for those higher grades. So let's see if we can do it here. And let's see if we can squeeze it into these 2 lines on my daughter's paper. Moreover, nice connective to launch into our deeper analysis. The harsh tone produced by the F and filth and crime, F and C sounds in the quotation Now I warn you, my handwriting is going to get a bit cramped, a bit like a serial killer, because I'm going to try and squeeze it in on this line here. Obviously in the exam you'll have plenty of space to optimise neat presentation. Don't do what I do here and squeeze it all in. Produced by the F and C sounds in the quotation, the harsh tone creates cross it out, reinforces the idea reinforces the sense. Of course, remember we talked about atmosphere before in the question. I think sense links very nicely to that keyword, a sense of unpleasantness, and that seems good enough to eat. What I'll do now is I'll just read it through to make sure it all makes sense, because as I say, I might want to do a change or two. Okay, in the extract, Dickens uses metaphor to depict an unpleasant atmosphere. In his description of the area, he states the whole quarter reeked of crime, filth and misery. The verb reeked compellingly conveys to the reader how unpleasant the area appears, because reeked has connotations of vile smells. Moreover, the harsh tone produced by the F and C sounds in the quotation reinforces the sense of unpleasantness. Do you know what I've noticed? I've said unpleasant quite a few times there, and I don't want to be accused of being repetitive, so I might take it out of the point. I've said in the extract Dickens used metaphor to depict an unpleasant atmosphere. Do you know what, I might save that intelligent analysis of what atmosphere or mood is created until the explanation here. And yeah, presto chango, we've got a sweet paragraph there. Now I'm just going to comb through with my spiffy highlighter and just earmark for you the stuff that's good. So extract, keyword from the exam. Dickens, keyword of the exam. Metaphor, do you remember the question asked you how? Well, one of the ways is uses metaphor. And of course atmosphere was that key phrase as well. So very much task focus there. In the description of the area he quotes, and there's my evidence. The job of evidence, of course, is to support or back up your point. This is creating atmosphere, this quotation. You'll notice it's not massive. If it's over 15 words you'll quote, you're doing something very wrong. Cut it down to size, maybe use an ellipsis. And then, black belt clever Trevor that I am, I've locked in on the verb reeked in this metaphor. I've mentioned the reader, so I'm keeping that joyless Jobsworth at the Edexcel exam board happy. And then I've said what this atmosphere is. It's an unpleasant atmosphere. And oh, I've been really clever, haven't I? And used because to explain that reeked has these nasty connotations. And then, of course, I've gone into my secondary, my B-list interpretation, just to kind of foster that sense of an interrelationship, language techniques or language instructional techniques working together. Moreover launches that nicely. We talked about some harsh tone there. And of course, what that's doing is reinforcing that sense of unpleasantness. Sense, of course, relating to the key word of atmosphere. Mr. Taylor, you're pretty good at this. Almost like you should be an English teacher. Ho, ho, frickin' ho. Alright then, so just cock an eye at that, drool over its beauty, and I think that's about all she wrote. Yeah, I bet you anything from biscuits to bitcoins, you write a response like that in the exam, you'll pimp rolling away with a very high grade in your back pocket.